I judge you unfortunate because you have never lived through misfortune. You have passed through life without an opponent. No one can ever know what you are capable of, not even you. Seneca on Providence. Most people who've gone through difficult periods in their life come to later wear those experiences as a badge of honour. Those were the days, they might say, even though they now live in much better circumstances. To be young and hungry again, another might say wistfully. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Or I wouldn't change a thing about it. As tough as those periods were, they were ultimately formative experiences. They made those people who they are. There's another benefit to so-called misfortune. Having experienced and survived it, we walk away with a better understanding of our own capacity and inner strength. Passing a trial by fire is empowering because you know in the future you can survive similar adversity. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger, Nietzsche said. So today, if things look like they might take a bad turn or your luck might change, why worry? This might be one of those formative experiences you'll be grateful for later.
Right, welcome to the CrossFit by Design podcast. This is episode 3. How you going, Brendan?
I'm very well. How are you, Tom?
Really good, really good.
Nice.
All right, so today I wanted to talk about mental strength. And you could call this mental toughness, mental fortitude. We'll call it mental strength today. So I think mental strength is something that most people wrestle with in their mind and they have an understanding of what it is, but I think if we can sort of nail down on what it is and how to get it, I think it's going to be really beneficial for people. So let's start off by defining what is mental strength.
I would say the simplest definition I could come up with is your ability to endure. So whatever that is, like endure a workout, endure trying times in a relationship, endure, anything, any kind of problem you're coming up against. Endure it without sort of compromising your own integrity. I would say probably a better definition. Because it's easy to sort of throw in the towel when things get tough, but mentally strong people can push forward without starting to blame other people and fall apart at the seams.
Seems like in that case, if that is the definition, then mental strength...
Well, that's my definition. That's the actual definition.
Right, come on, back yourself.
That's probably it, yeah.
If that's the case, then it almost requires that there be adversity. If mental strength is the ability to see the choice, make the most likely the hard choice, which you know you need to do, that requires there to be a choice which is putting you through some kind of adversity. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, 100%. And that's where the growth is. I mean, life without adversity, there's no growth there. And that's why I think, this day and age, like, let's face it, if you're listening to this podcast and you've ever, like Gary Vee has a good video, it's like if you've ever brought a $5 coffee, like, you're spoiled. And just to kind of, put into perspective what's available to you and that kind of thing. So it's like, it's easy for people to go through life these days and not experience too much adversity, or not experience adversity early on, and then when it comes to them later on, they just fall apart at the seams. Because let's face it, like I jump into my air-conditioned car and I make my way to work, listening to the radio, and I get to work. It's sheltered. This doesn't have heating, but your office and that might have heating and cooling. And
have a job.
Yeah, have a job, have an income, have a nice place to sleep. Like, you got it pretty sweet, man. You're not going through a lot of adversity day to day. So in order for there to be...
Right, but what if they burnt my coffee?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, if you get a Macca's, then you're probably hard to avoid that. But anyway.
Well, we laugh about that, man, but for some people, that'll be the hardest thing that happens in their whole day. And then how you respond to that really speaks to your character. Like, if you respond very poorly to the burnt coffee, you're not going through much, are you?
And each person faces a different kind of adversity as well.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Like, I don't deny that. Like, some people whether it be from how their childhood was or how they coming up in general. I'm not trying to say, hey, if you live in Australia, you're a spoiled brat and you need to just harden up. I mean, for a lot of people, that's probably true. But I'm not trying to devalue what anybody's been through. All we're trying to say
it's circumstantial. It's dependent on which environment.
Absolutely.
So you were talking about growth. So you talked about if we want to make growth towards achieving mental strength, which is done through when we face these decisions. Why is that even important? So why is it important to grow or develop mental strength, and how does it relate to life? Like, why would we even do that? Why is it important?
Well, you want to be a dependable and that's a tough one. I think, without going through any kind of adversity, you're not going to grow, are you? So let's say we agree that mental strength is your ability to endure, and your ability to endure requires something to endure. So like some kind of trials, some kind of tough times.
Yeah.
And then that in turn develops your character. So it's like, if you have none of that, how do you develop who you are?
Yeah.
So it's like you're not challenging yourself to grow in any way. So, are you going to be the best neighbor, best friend, best employee, best husband, best wife, best son that you can possibly be without taking those steps, going through those things? Like, I don't believe so. And you can just take a look around at, have a look at the kid who has everything. What kind of attitude do they have? What kind of respect do they have for other people's property or money and relationships and anything like that? They're a different person.
Yeah. And I think also what people may not realise is, you talked about developing character and mental strength being the ability to endure, and I think having mental strength does grow your character. I think what people don't realise is that having a character and developing your character goes a long way towards, like we talked about last week, progressing towards achieving your goals. I think achieving your goals, a lot of the components of that requires having the mental strength to stick to the path that you set out for your progress, and that character which you develops in turn helps you achieve almost whatever goal that it is that you set, whether you're trying to sail around the world or just build a business. Having strength of character and mental strength is actually going to be probably one of the biggest things that helps you move the needle towards doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
So how then do I become mentally strong? Now, so you said it's the ability to endure.
Yep.
And that's sort of a real sort of high level view. How do I actually become mentally stronger from maybe a lower level practical sense?
In my mind, it's easy. Do what you said you were going to do. So let's say you've set your goal, like we talked about last week.
Yep.
You've decided what your goal is, and you agree that mental strength is important and you want to develop that. Do what you said you were going to do. So I've set my goal. I want to get, let's use the gym as an example.
100 push-ups.
I want to get 100 push-ups. Okay, sweet. I want to get it by this time. So within this time frame, if I want to get to 100 push-ups, that means I need to improve by 5 push-ups a week. I've spoken to my coach. They've given me a training program that outlines exactly what I need to do. Do that. That's it. Do what you said you were going to do.
Yep.
Like, come up with a plan, figure out what you need to do, and then when it comes time to do it, just do it. Yep. So, I know that's probably not blowing anybody's mind, like, oh my God, what? Really? That's amazing. How do you come up with this stuff? But it really is that simple.
I
like,
put a lot of time into this.
Yeah, well, we put some time into it, man. Yeah, for sure. But it's like, don't look for that fix. Just be a man or a woman, whatever, of your word. Back, like when I was still in the army, the role of the infantry has this part in it that's basically it finishes with by day or night, regardless of season, weather or terrain. And we used to joke about that all the time, because when you're out pack marching or doing whatever you're doing as an infantryman, the weather, it doesn't matter. Like the terrain, it doesn't matter. Like whatever's happening, it's like, well, we're here to do the job, so let's just do the job. And we used to joke about it, but it's true. Like, well, instead of a push-up example, let's say it's a running example, you don't have a treadmill or anything like that, you've got to go outside. Oh, but it's raining. So Like you said you're going to run. And we joke about that all the time. Like it's running on the board in here in the gym. And people come in, it's raining. Like, oh, you know, it's raining. What are we going to do? I'm like, oh, we're going to fucking run. Like, because it's running today. Like, we'll always give people the option. But in my mind, if I'm like, I said I was going to run today, simple as that.
So kind of no matter what, is there a line there? Because obviously we could have a hard line approach. Like, well, no matter what the external circumstance is, I'm going for that run. Now, I'm sure there's limits there. Or is there? Is there limits there? You know, is there such an excuse that I could make that actually, you know, gets to a point where I wouldn't do that?
Well, that's up to you, isn't it? Like, I don't think so. No. Like when you're talking, let's say you're talking to a high-level athlete, like their job is to work out. There are times when maybe the best thing that they could do for their program is to actually get a bit more sleep. But for you and me and like average Joe, I don't think there's anything.
Call me average Joe, bro. Come on, man.
Average T, average. Well, I mean, let's face it. Like, it's not our full-time job to be athletes. Like, we have other things. So we're after long-term health and longevity. So it's like, I don't think there is, because as soon as you open that door, you know, where's the line then? So it's like, well, I'll do it unless I don't feel like it. You know what I mean? Or I'll do it unless I don't get enough sleep, and then maybe I won't do it, and then it's just like, nah, just do it. Yeah,
so I guess it's almost like if you haven't made up your mind before you get into that situation, then you're probably going to crumble. Like if you haven't, if I've made up in my mind that, well, I'm going to try really hard to run, and then, oh, it's raining, it's cold, I'm not going to do it. But it's like, no, I am going to run. Doesn't matter. And then you come into that situation, oh crap, it's raining. Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah, that's spot on. Like, don't try and make it up on the fly. Like, oh, I'll just see how it goes, because you won't do it.
No, you won't.
Like 4:30 in the morning, getting up and go for a run. Like this time of year. Nope.
Yeah, you got to decide.
Yeah, it won't happen.
Okay, so let's take an example of a person who, like you've said to them, look, you got to stick to your word. You've set up your plan. You said, okay, I'm going to do this. And what if a person is actually still having trouble to still make that decision, and their, I guess, rebuttal would be, look, I'm just not a mentally tough person. Look, that's not who I am. You know, you're mentally tough, Brendan. You're like you're rah, you know, from the army, that kind of thing. But I'm just not like that. I'm just not a mentally tough person. I've always been weak, and that's just, I guess, who I am. What would you say to that person?
Well, I mean, that's a choice you're making, isn't it? Like, not you, the person you're talking to, asking for a friend.
Yeah, a friend.
But yeah, like, I'm not mentally tough. Okay, well, let's say there's two sets of rings here. This might not work well for people who are just listening. No, it'll work fine. So there's two sets of rings here, right? And there's two athletes running towards the rings. One of them says, I'm going to get my first muscle up today. And then the other one running towards the rings goes, oh, I can't do muscle ups, this is going to be so shit. Like, who gets their muscle up?
Well,
who's more likely?
The first person may not get it on their first go, but they'll eventually get it.
True, but the other person will not get it. No. They don't stand a chance, because they've already made up in their own mind who they are. So you need to decide, am I the type of person that's mentally tough? And I think, again, it's another one of those things we look for a quick fix, like, how do I become mentally tough? What are the 10 steps that I can do to become more mentally tough? Well, it's just one step, man. Just do what you said you were going to do. That's all mental toughness is. Well, in my mind. Like,
and I guess this ties back to the first point you made about that it's kind of through adversity, that when you have adversity come upon you, you're going to endure through that to make the decision to do what you said you were going to do. I guess maybe people, they set out a plan, they decide beforehand, but then an obstacle hits them in the face, and they think, oh no, I can't do this. It's like I've had a setback, and they think that therefore means they can't do it. But I guess if people are expecting obstacles and expecting adversity, that even though they said, you know, I'm going to go out, I'm going to try and achieve this, and knowing full well, you know what, I'm probably going to get hit back, face obstacles along the way, and expect that, then they know, you know what, I didn't make it this time, but I expected that. I'm going to stick with it and still decide to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, like, when we're talking about goals last week, you know, it's kind of along the same lines, really, isn't it? Like, you know, you have a goal, and I need mental strength to stick to it. you know, you just need to be more afraid of failing. Like, you need to be more afraid of not going for that run. Like, what the consequences are of not going for that run. Like, I'm more afraid of that than I am afraid of, like, well, there's no, like get the fear behind you instead of in front of you, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Be more afraid to not go on that run. Like, because that's the hardest thing. Like, you've always got a choice. Like, you live in Australia, man. Like,
you do whatever you want.
Free country, bro. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
And that's the hardest thing for some people, because do I have to get out of bed? No, absolutely not. Are there any immediate consequences? No. Like,
And
maybe
I guess,
the coach finds out that I didn't go, but...
Yeah. And I guess people sometimes, they want to put themselves in a situation where, look, I just don't want to have any choice. I just want to be forced to do this, and then I'll achieve my goals. But that's just not the reality that we live in at all.
Yeah, man. And like coming from somebody who's been in the army, like, that reality is overrated, bro. Like,
Really?
Yeah, like, it's not. You just there's still, like Jocko Willink says all the time, like, there's freedom in discipline. Absolutely, I completely agree with that. Like, but
self-discipline.
Yeah, but self-discipline. Like, you can be. Like, why can't you do it? But it's coming back to, like, last week we were talking about goals. Like, maybe don't be like such an asshole to yourself when it comes to pursuing your goals. So do what you said you're going to do. That doesn't mean get up every single morning, 7 days a week, 4:30, and go for your run. Like, do what you said you're going to do. I'm going to go for a run 3 days a week, and on every other day I'm going to reward myself. And then when I don't go for the run, I don't reward myself, or I do something else, or you know, it's hard to expand on it, because it's one of those things that it's pretty simple. But you just want to complicate it and find a way around it, because the simple answer, it's just like anything else, not sexy.
Yep.
Like, it's not cool. It's just hard work in the dark when no one's looking.
Yep.
No immediate gratification.
Yep.
No reward. Just you. Just getting after it.
But knowing the consequences of not choosing that option, and understanding, okay, here's the consequence if I do this, and here's the ramifications if I don't do this, and understanding that, and then being comfortable with, okay, I know that, and then just choosing to make that. And then if you're not going to choose to make that, then well,
that's the kind of person you are.
Yeah, that's the person you are.
Yeah, and then who else but you can do anything about that?
Cool. Let's leave it there.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you later.